10 years in the NFL, Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ. That article on Bleacher Report this morning, it dropped 10 minutes before the show, so I had to speed read and read the whole thing. And my takeaway was somebody was not happy with Mike McCarthy, and I don't know if it was one source or 20, but they clobbered McCarthy. My second takeaway is these two got divorced, McCarthy and Aaron. Everybody played nice until 2 days ago when McCarthy took some subtle shots at Aaron, and somebody in that Green Bay organization said, okay, you want to play that game? Because there were some things in this article about massages that were taking place, about just one of the quotes was kind of mean. It was McCarthy's a buffoon, said somebody, Mike has a low football IQ. It used to bother Aaron. He'd say Mike's got one of the lowest IQs, if not the lowest IQ of any coach he's ever had. I mean, that is harsh. So let me start with this, Greg. You've been outspoken a little bit of both. I mean, Aaron, you've said sometimes did things that bothered you. McCarthy sometimes wasn't. Like, for instance, play calling. You didn't love McCarthy's play calling.
No, I didn't. I wasn't always in love with it. Did it work at times? Yes, when we were clicking on all cylinders. But it was an offense that if you were smart, which Aaron obviously is one of the smartest quarterbacks in all of football, it didn't challenge you. You grew stale in that offense because there was no creative and innovative formation variation. And let me be clear about this. A lot of that wasn't just solely Mike McCarthy. Some of it was because of the brilliance, if you will, of Aaron Rodgers, where he didn't like a lot of group and cluster formations, bunches.
Yeah, Green Bay doesn't run those.
No, and a lot of it had to do with Aaron felt like, you know what? No, let's keep everybody spread out, stationary, so that my cadence can then show me what the defense is wanting and willing to go to and what they're trying to hold their disguises up. And so that's why the offense kind of looked the way that it did.
It's not all McCarthy's simplicity.
It's not all McCarthy. It's a lot of it. It's one of those give and takes. It's like, okay, do I appease my quarterback or do I do what's best for the other guys that are supporting my quarterback?
Okay, I'll throw a criticism of McCarthy in this, that he didn't evolve, that he had a little bit of an ego, that he liked to be called the quarterback guru, that some of this was Mike could be a little fake tough guy where I'm a tough Pittsburgh guy, but in the end he didn't suspend guys, he didn't fine guys. Are those criticisms fair? He got a little in love with himself after the Super Bowl. Is that fair?
It's fair to a degree. And the reason why I say that is McCarthy was one of those coaches that he gave his players the benefit of the doubt. Like, you police yourself. Like, I don't need to take your money. He would always say, I don't want to take your money. I don't want to suspend you. I'm not going to be petty, but you guys police yourself. And I think sometimes that ends up biting you when your number one guy is really going around saying things that are counterproductive to what you're trying to do. He's not echoing what you're trying to get done in a positive manner. That one guy being Aaron Rodgers. And again, I'm going to defend Aaron on this side. It wasn't just Aaron that was not going around echoing. It was majority of the guys, because you grew stale of Mike McCarthy and his offense and the way he went about things sometimes. You liked him as a person, as a coach. We thought he was a good coach, but he wasn't the type of coach that was going to just flat out tell you exactly what he was feeling. No, not every time. No, he would do it sometimes. He would be selective, but that just wasn't what he was.
One of the criticisms here of McCarthy in the article by Bleacher Report is that in the end, he just didn't work on the Aaron relationship, and that he was kind of insecure with the Van Pelt relationship, and he should have kept him, but Mike was insecure about Van Pelt was closer to Aaron than Mike was. Let's talk about that. Did Mike McCarthy fail? Because I look at Belichick and Brady, and it's not like they're warm and fuzzy. Now, I mean, there's a lot of relationships. I mean, Mike Shanahan and John Elway worked, but I mean, Shanahan and Elway can also argue. I don't think Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning hung out all the time. But this article makes it sound like McCarthy failed at connecting with Aaron. Is that fair?
That is fair. That is definitely fair. And I think a lot of it possibly has to do with they were on the same side of the ball. He's an offensive quarterback whisperer, an offensive guru, if you will. And you're dealing with a quarterback that can do it all.
And likes to ad lib.
Exactly. But when you look at teams that have had success, and we always look at the number one team that's had the most success. New England Patriots. Bill Belichick, he's on the other side of the ball. But one thing about Bill Belichick, he's smart. I don't need to have the best relationship with Tom Brady in the building. Josh McDaniels has to have that relationship. His quarterback coach has to have that relationship with him. My relationship with Tom Brady doesn't have to be what everybody thinks it should be. It's going to be a business relationship. I'm going to manage this team. I'm going to treat him like I treat everybody else. I'm going to let you have the nice, fluffy, yet spitfire, bickery relationship with him that true relationships have. And you're going to have to work through that. That's Josh McDaniels' job in New England.
But Green Bay didn't have a Josh.
No.
They didn't have a Josh McDaniels.
No.
So it was McCarthy and Aaron. I'll throw this at you. I never felt that Aaron and Mike even looked like a couple. This weekend I was in Cabo, and we met a couple, and this lady comes up, and she's a psychiatrist, right? And she looked at my wife and I. We walked into her house. She goes, "You guys look like a couple." And I thought, "Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I don't know if we are, but we look like a couple." Sometimes you'll see a couple, you'll be, "Oh, they look like a couple." McCarthy and Aaron never looked like they'd fit. One guy's like Pittsburgh. He looks like a retired cop. It's a bottom line. Aaron is a model, West Coast, hip, cool, date celebrities. Like, I never thought the personality, and I said this on the air before, I'm like, they're winning, but it doesn't feel like a great. Sean Payton Breeze feels like it works. Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson and Pete are like almost overly optimistic. It feels like it connects. They're both youthful. Did these guys maybe, they just were never built to get along?
Well, the reason why it looks like it works with those guys like Sean Payton and Drew Brees is because they actually want the same thing. They actually want the same thing more than what they want for themselves.
Interesting.
That's the problem. That was the problem in Green Bay. When you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at Mike McCarthy, they both want the credit. Yeah, do we want to win? We do want to win, but I want the credit when I win. And in reality, when you're dealing with a quarterback and a head coach relationship or an offensive coordinator relationship, you have to be able to accept the truths. And you know the truth more than anybody else of yourself. And I think a lot of the problem, and this article kind of said it right off the top, egos destroyed the Green Bay Packers. When you look at Mike McCarthy, if Aaron had input, he kind of bucked that input. He didn't. He heard it, but he didn't really take to it or listen to it.
He didn't want Aaron to have too much power.
Exactly, and vice versa. If Mike said something that was meaningful, that had substance, now you got Aaron feeling like, well, if you're not going to really listen to me, I'm not going to really listen to you.
And you sensed this. You felt some of this.
Yes, there's no sensed it. I lived it. I lived it.
For the record, there's a lot in this article. Are there still other things that have not come out? Is it even uglier than this?
I think it's definitely uglier than this. I mean, there's things in this article that I had it blew me away. And that was
like what?
The whole missing meetings and for the massages and all of that.
Well, you weren't there though at that time.
I wasn't there at that time.
It makes it sound like that's the last couple years.
Yeah. But so things like that, that's like, wow. Like, it blew me back. Like, my eyebrow hair stood up when I saw that. Like, yeah, that you can't do that.
That's crazy stuff. So do you buy my theory that they got divorced, they were going to play nice, McCarthy did an interview, took some shots, and Green Bay in the last 48 hours said, okay, if you're going to do that, we're not going to play nice? Because it feels like this is a little bit of a response to that McCarthy interview.
I would buy the theory if I didn't know when the article was written. This article was already being configured 2 months ago.
How do you know?
Because I'm a part of the article. So
called you.
When they called and they wanted, and again, I'm one of those guys that I'll take heat, I'll take the backlash, but I'm going to put my name on everything that I say. I don't like the anonymous quotes, and I can't stand that. Never been a fan of it. Just stand up, be a man. Let me know who you are. But this article was being written prior to what Mike McCarthy ended up saying. Just recently.
They've been working on this thing.
This has been in the works. It just so happened.
But by the way, you've taken some heat from Cheesehead Nation because you are outspoken. I always find funny with Packer fans. Like, Packer fans acknowledge they'll complain amongst themselves about Aaron and Brett. But if anybody else does
it, you can't do it.
Right. Like, they'll go to their message board and they'll be like, Aaron can be this and Brett could be this. But if you go out and say it, it's like, you're not loyal to us. It's like, you're just telling the truth. If Packer fans can't handle it, that's a you problem.
Yeah, and one thing I would say, and I loved my time in Green Bay. I thought it was unbelievable. No one can ever take that away from me, fans or anyone. But when you've been in a relationship, when you've been in a family, and you've actually lived it, no one can tell you what you know. No, you can't tell me what I know to be true in fact. So what I share, could I share even more? Yes. But I choose to just share the parts that I think are important for and that kind of shape why we see what we're seeing right now. Like, before I ever said everything in Green Bay, you kind of knew the relationship was all kind of helter-skelter. They clashed. But then I started saying things about the leadership and all of this. And then other guys started saying stuff. Oh, yeah, the leadership is not there really when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. It starts to unfold and guys start to say more. And you start to get a bigger picture on what this relationship and what this organization really looks like from the inside out.
Yeah. By the way, it's possible that Mike McCarthy knew this article was coming out and then did the podcast to get in front of it.
That's, my friend, is the question.
Because if it's been worked on for 2 months, Mike obviously got called to respond to it, and Mike's like, I'm not responding to this stuff. And they made sure he did a podcast to get out in front of it a little bit.
I could see that. But again,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.